Everything that you project vibrationally does create a sort of vortex, and there is a momentum. That's why we're defining that there's the receptive mode of your true vortex and who you really are, and then there's the receptive mode of all the things that you've worried about. And so there is a vibrational stream that precedes all manifestations. So what's manifesting is manifesting in response to where you're hanging out on this emotional scale. There are things that come from that true vibration of alignment, and there are things that come from revenge, and there are things that come from anger, and there are things that come from overwhelmment, and there are things that come from despair. All of these could be called receptive modes because it's where you've got your tuner set. So it's what your reception is about. And whatever your reception's about, it's all you're letting in. So if your reception is set in overwhelmment, you can't let in things that ease it up. If your reception is set on being a victim, you can't let in anything that is upscale from that, as long as those are the thoughts that you're practicing. When you sleep, it stops momentum and it sort of clears the air, so that when you awaken in the morning, you are always here for a moment, until you begin pondering and considering the dilemmas and problems and decisions of your life experience. And then usually you end up lighting about where your average thoughts have been, but it doesn't need to be that way. The thing about your dreams don't happen all night long like you think they do. It's like an instantaneous download when you awaken in the morning of where your vibration is. So as you recall that, it's usually because you've settled quickly back in to that strong momentum of problem that you've had going on. Whatever you've been consistently worrying about or thinking about or reveling in is usually what makes up your dreams. Esther remembers, after receiving us and having the first few conversations where we were flowing through her in response to Jerry's questions, she began having flying dreams for the first time in her experience. And it's because of the new freedom that she'd discovered in allowing this energy to flow. And so night after night she was having flying dreams because of the difference in the way that she was feeling, you see. So don't try to control it. Don't try to control any outcomes. That's really something that we'd like to say to all of you deliberate creators. Don't try to control outcomes. Don't try to control manifestations. Instead, do what you can to consider where you are vibrationally, emotionally. Let that be what your emphasis is upon. And then let what you've put into the vortex and now your new reception of it be the control of what unfolds in terms of manifestation. You'll like it. You'll really like it. It is such an easy button approach. It is. Don't make too much of it and take whichever path is the least upstream. Or let go and float for a little while. If there are two choices and neither one of them feel that good, neither one of them is that good. But you can't all of a sudden just cease to exist. You can't just stop thinking all of a sudden. You can't stop your momentum like that. So don't beat up on yourself because you can't. Just let it go, and when you sleep, it will subside. And when you awaken, it will be better. And then the next morning, it will be better. And the next morning, it will be better, as long as you understand this. It really is about staying in your lane. It really is about wanting to feel good and know what thoughts take you off and paying attention to what happens. There is nothing wrong with running over a few things while you're learning to drive. It's just sort of something that has to happen. So as you are acknowledging that, oh, that thought led to that, then next time you come across that thought because of past momentum, you might have more control about it because you're more decisive about it now. But let your decisions be about how you feel, not about the nitty-gritty of what you're deciding. It's really about diffusing negative focus. If you diffuse negative focus, in time it won't be part of the mix. So at the same time that you're diffusing negative focus, you can be focusing more positively. It's just a matter of caring about how you feel and guiding yourself accordingly. We've been talking about several things in this gathering, things that we want you to feel sort of new about in some ways. And the first thing that we wanted to bring emphasis to is that receptive mode and replenishing mode are the same mode, and that everything you want comes from that. So, of course, we've tied it into the decisions that you've made because it's personal. In other words, it's not being a puppet that someone else is deciding for you. These are things that you have specifically asked for that mean something to you. And so getting into that receptive mode is just the most wonderful way to live life, to know when you're there and know when you're not there, and not be mad at yourself when you're not there, but most of all, know when you're there. And just knowing that makes you more likely to want to do that, which is what that step 5 living is all about, isn't it? It's about not beating up on yourself when you find yourself in a receptive mode of something less than what you want. And so then what happens once you're striving or wanting or enjoying more of the receptive mode? What happens is you begin to experience more of a feeling of worthiness, because you begin noticing the correlation between what you've been thinking and how you've been feeling and how it's playing out. And you even feel worthy when it plays out in a way that you don't want. There's something so wonderful about knowing that you're in charge of what comes. I did that, you say, or I did that too, you say. In other words, there's something wonderful about being the deliberate creator of your own experience. So that feeling of receptivity and then that feeling of worthiness that comes as a result of it are such important components of where you stand in your vibrational now. And then the now factor is such a big factor, because in your now, you have more latitude than you've been giving yourself credit. Let your decision-making process be mostly about the way you want to feel, by understanding that you've already filled your vortex full of the decisions that are important to you. And then just watch how lovely life plays out. And then you'll find yourself more and more of the time being in this state of being where things are unfolding around you and you are witnessing the evidence of your alignment. That's the best part of deliberate creation, to witness the evidence of your alignment. Or, let's have a step 5 moment, witness the evidence of your misalignment. But witnessing the evidence of it, isn't that a lovely thing? By staying in your lane, which is one of the things that we've really been talking about, when you find yourself saying it's frustrating, you're off on the rumble strip, aren't you? It's frustrating. Don't go there. Don't even put words to it being frustrating if you can stop yourself, if you're not too far in the frustration to stop yourself from even saying it. Just say, wait a minute, I can back off of that. I don't have to proclaim it. I don't have to continue to argue for my limitations, because that for sure is going to continue the momentum and take you off. Everyone has a propensity to do that a little bit, because you're sort of fact-based people. You've been trained to face reality. And we say, facers of reality do not change the reality that they're facing. If you face reality, you keep active the vibration that keeps bringing the same results. Different places, different faces, but it's basically the same experience that you continue to regurgitate. And it does not have to be that way. You are not facers of reality, or you are creators of reality. You are creators of your reality, you see. And so notice the correlation between the words that are coming out of your mouth, the conversations you're having with your friends. And notice how often you could have got back in your lane. You could have. But for reasons, screwy reasons, like momentum, or you don't want to hurt your friend's feeling by changing the conversation, or mostly momentum, mostly your own momentum, or mostly your own justification or rationalization. But none of those things feel good. And so, do you know that every single thing that you want, no matter what it is, a material object, a state of being, a pile of money, a person, anything that you want, everything that you want it because you think you will feel better when you get it. And everything that we've been talking about is we want you to feel better before you get it, or else you can't get it. You got to feel good about the essence of it. You've got to feel good about the idea of it. You've got to feel good that you were in the receiving mode and even received the question of it or the problem of it. You got to feel good about all of it. It's time for you to start being proud of where you stand in this world. You're doing really well. Do you know, as a deliberate creator in this sea of contrast, in this planet, you are masters of creation. It's why you're here. None of you are little new souls that are coming forth floundering like some of them want to tell you you are just because things aren't going well. That's not the case ever with any of you. You are masters at creation, and you've come into the most complex, most perfect diversity that has ever been in any dimension, any time, anywhere. Here you are, sifting and sorting for your personal conclusions about how you believe the world and your world within this world would be better. And your worthiness is such that everything that you conclude is understood and backed up by source completely. And the energy that creates worlds is focused on your behalf. It's time for you to line up with the focus that's already focused on your behalf. And if you do anything less than that, you'll feel frustration or worse. The easiest way to explain it to you is that as you connect to your inner being, you connect to everything else, because your inner being is connected to everything else. So your inner being, your personal inner being, who is personally aware of everything that is important to you, is connected to all of that stream of well-being. We could spend the rest of your lifetime defining the particles of non-physical. Everything that has ever lived has been sifting and sorting and creating a vortex. And what is non-physical is the culmination of all of those requests. Pure and higher and better feeling. A sort of liquid love. That's what it all is. Just feel for what it is and you'll know. In your vortex, you might have put a specific relationship or a specific place that you want to live, and the reason behind it is because you like satisfaction and contentment, or you like vistas, and so that would connect with a lot of other vortexes. You get to bring the specifics forward, and so your vortex is as specific or as general. It is as general as what everyone wants, which is well-being and freedom, and to be understood and heard, and worthiness. In other words, that's a vortex that includes everyone. But your vortex is specific unto you, so specific and precise that everything that you want and every detail about it can be yours in so many more moments than most of you are allowing. It helped Esther when Jerry made his transition into non-physical to understand this and to find words for us to explain it more, because she had thought that she had understood. She had been visiting with us and allowing us to flow through her for a very long time. And she accepted us as a collective consciousness, and she could feel different degrees of emphasis of consciousness coming forth. She could feel very specifics coming forth. In other words, sometimes even when she's leaving the stage, she feels an ongoing conversation with someone who's just been in the hot seat about things because of the momentum of that's going on. In other words, she knows that there is a fluidity to what is Abraham. She understands that it is a collective consciousness. It is not a personality that has these opinions about these things. It's a source energy, infinite intelligence, consciousness. So as Jerry made his transition into non-physical, now Esther was not very happy about the idea of Jerry just joining the Abraham soup. Whatever that was. In other words, she knows that he does. She knows that he is. She knows for sure that he is a part of that because she lived with him and knew his heart. She knows that. But she wants more specifics from Jerry than from Abraham. So Esther has very specific dialogues and conversations with Jerry because Jerry was specifically and intimately involved in Esther's experience, in the day in and day out experiences. She knows what he desired relative to business and so forth, and clients and well-being and those sorts of things. So she's always wanting to know what he is thinking about it. She wanted to continue to approach things in the way that she knew from his business background and his wisdom and his heart and his love. She wanted to continue things. But now she is discovering that even now she will receive dialogue from him and she will say, I want to be clear that I'm receiving you as you are, not as I remember you to be. But it was a while before she was willing to do that. Now she's let him be part of the soup, you see. Now she's letting him be the fullness that he really is, while the specifics still come forth, because she gets to define the specifics. You all get to define the specifics, and infinite intelligence will answer you as broadly and as generally or as specifically and intimately as you are able to allow, you see. It's not your asking that is separating it out. It is your receptive mode. It is your trust. It is your receptive mode. And so if you'll just chill out and let it flow, really good.